Good morning. As you can see, I am not here today, but I trust that you can have a super productive day without me. Don't forget that you do have your 8-4 quiz tomorrow, and what you will get in class today is an 8-4 review. If you are still having trouble with certain concepts from any of the 8-4 days, remember there are 4 days, and definitely get out your notes to look at them as you're working through the review. But I will be in at 7:30 tomorrow morning, so please come in tomorrow morning if you feel like you still need some extra help. First thing I want you to do is get out your 8-5 worksheet. You can see that I've already got the key up on the screen, but get out your 8-5 worksheet, and if the substitute needs to pause this video to give you time to get out that worksheet, that's fine. So you also might as well get out your calculator at this time and a grading pen too. So once we're ready, let's go ahead and go through these answers. On number 1, you should have depression and then elevation. Make sure that you are making corrections, please, because you are going to want to take the correct answers with you to help prepare you for future quizzes and the test, which is next week. You will not have 8-5 on your quiz tomorrow, but next week we will have our test over this entire unit. So make sure you're making corrections. So number 1 is depression and then elevation. 2, elevation and then depression. 3, those are both depression. And 4, depression and then elevation. For number 5, I hope that you drew some sort of building, and looking at how the sun is casting a shadow, our angle of elevation is down at the bottom right-hand corner. You should have used the tangent ratio. Tangent of 60 degrees equals 35 over x, and when you round to the nearest tenth of a foot, we're looking at 20.2 feet. For number 6, depending on which hour this is, I know that we did not get to, in some of my hours, we did not get to an example where you had to draw 2 triangles. If you go and look at my notes online, I do have an example. It's about sailboats and observing those sailboats from a lighthouse. You can look at those notes online for another example of this type of problem. But in this specific situation, there are 2 taxis, and you've got 2 different angles of depression. What ends up happening is you use tangent twice. You can see that there is a purple triangle and an orange triangle. And in order to figure out how far away the taxis are from one another, you need to figure out how far away the first taxi is from the observer, and then how far away the second taxi is from the observer, and then subtract those 2 values to figure out how far the taxis are away from each other. So, like I said, you should use tangent twice and rounding to the nearest foot. The difference is 2,585 feet apart. And we can work on some more of that when I get back. On number 7, that is an angle of depression, so your triangle should be upside down. And what you know here is you actually end up using the sine ratio, because it asks how far away the whale is from the binoculars, so that would actually represent the hypotenuse length. So you should have used sine on that one to the nearest tenth of a foot. It's 96.5 feet. Number 8, you have another angle of depression, so you turn that triangle upside down again, and the information that it gives you is the information about the ski run, which is the hypotenuse. And you know that the vertical length is 208, and that's the opposite length from the angle that you're looking for. So that's opposite over hypotenuse, and you need to do the inverse sign here to get the angle measure out of that. To the nearest degree, it's about 12 degrees. And then number 9, again, angle of depression, we have that upside down triangle. This one ends up being a tangent ratio. Tangent of 19 degrees equals 120 over x, and to the nearest hundredth, that's about 348.51 feet. And then finally, number 10, we have a little bit of an added length here. Kind of like when we did the forest ranger example. If you'll remember the forest ranger, his observation tower was 90 feet tall, and then he was 6 feet tall. In this case, Lily, her eyesight is 5 meters above the ground, so your triangle is kind of elevated above the ground, and at the end, you have to take the 100 meters. So the canyon wall is 100 meters above the ground, but you have to take Lily's height into consideration. So that triangle actually only has a height of 95 meters after we subtract Lily's height from it, and you do end up using tangent on that one again. If you are confused about this one, again, we're going to be doing a whole lot more practice with drawing pictures and these types of situations, these story problems. So write down as much as you can, write down that you had to use tangent, and we will definitely practice some more of these when I get back. So from here, let me remind you that you may listen to music on your phone, but as far as anything else, you should not be using your phone to send any sort of messages or be on social media. So please respect that and be productive and don't get distracted by it. I'm going to have the substitute pass back some papers because I want you guys to have those worksheets back in preparation for your quiz tomorrow. So as the substitute calls your name, just raise your hand and the substitute will pass back those papers. And then you should work on the review that will also be passed out to you for the rest of the period. Use your notes to help yourselves out. If you have any questions, again, come see me before school tomorrow at 7:30 and we'll get you ready. So I think that's all I have for you. You guys have a good day. Please be sweet, be kind to one another, be kind to the substitute, and be productive. Remember, if you feel like you're having a hard time, you need to put the work in. Don't just sit there and continue not to understand. You got to do something about it. Okay? So have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow.